Well, Coach, you mentioned being able to have a little Bob Stoops in you. I'm old enough to have gone to Oklahoma when you were the OC there. I remember the years with Sam Bradford having that offense that went all over the field, up and down people. But I also was looking at that staff and going, it's a bunch of guys that you can really trust, a bunch of guys that you don't have to worry about staying until midnight because they're going to get the work done. And I look at your staff, guys like Ryan Stanchek, guys like Ricky Browning. I see guys like that, Ron Burton, for instance. But I do want to ask, Coach, who's going to be your defense coordinator?
Well, we had things in we took our time putting our staff together. We put it from the top down, starting with the leadership, starting with Steve Spurrier on offense with me, and then Matt Guerreri. Matt's had the opportunity now to take a job at Indiana, a little bit closer to family, but more than anything else, significant pay opportunity for him as well. He was back and forth. He took a little time going back and forth because I think he felt good about the opportunity he had here. At the same time, we wish him well. Did a good job the short period he was here. We've been working short term because we were able to hire some good coaches. Matter of fact, I actually had hired it, didn't get out yet, so I'll scoop it with you. It won't go super viral, but I hired an off the fields coach that played defensive back. Michael Hunter has been with us, played for me at Indiana. He's coaching defensive backs. Played 1 year at Oklahoma State. Played 5 years at NFL. Well, Matt Guerreri was coaching safeties. Well, I'd hired a couple of days before Matt left a guy that you might remember by the name of Dom Franks. And Dom Franks is an old Tulsa Union guy, an old Ohio Boomer Sooner.
USFL guy too.
Boomer Sooner. He's coached. He played 5 years in the NFL with the Falcons, and I think the Ravens. Played 4 years of European basketball. How about that? 5 years in the league and 4 years of basketball. And he had been last year. He's working for the New Jersey Generals as the defensive back coach up there. We hired Dom to be our quality control coach to help the secondary. So with Matt leaving right now, Dom is just taking that place. So I don't have a coach, but I got a guy that was coaching in the USFL last year that has 5 years of NFL experience, was a great player in Oklahoma, and he's from Tulsa Union. He's a Tulsa guy. He's a backyard guy. So right now, we're operating standard operating procedures. Corey McFarland knows the defense we're putting in. Ron Burton, who's our assistant head coach, and going to have a job not with title, RJ, going to have a job with leadership responsibility. It's going to stand in front of our team and lead our men. So I'm excited about Ronnie, excited about Ricky Brown. So I got a great core and had Dom in the wings, not expecting Matt to leave, trying to get Dom's career started. Well, Dom jumped into deep water real quick than he wanted to. He was in the treading pool for about 3 days, and then we threw him down in the deep well instead of start swimming. So that's where we're at today. I got a position open. We could stay as is. We'll look to see if there's something from the outside, but my gut says I'm going to take a little time. I'm going to push spring ball back till after spring break. So we got about 4 weeks here to play, but we're having lifting training sessions, and we're operating and I'm spending more time with our players and trying to connect with them than filling this hire. It's a big hire, but I'm going to take my time. But we are lucky to have a great staff internally, and we're marching day to day as if it was standard operating procedures right now.
Well, I'm excited to hear that, Coach, because I remember Dom. We went to high school together. And
You're Union man?
Big, oversized. I was at Booker T and Memorial, right? So I got to go to games to see Tulsa Union. Backyard Bowl is always a big deal around here, as you very well know. And Dom's an oversized defensive back at the time. Yeah. So to understand what he means to the state and to the city is a very big deal. And I appreciate that you appreciate that, Coach.
Well, and you're getting the scoop. You're getting, because I wasn't hiding putting it out. I was going to put it out, and then Matt left. I said, well, let me wait a couple of days. But I'm excited to have Dom, and that gives me a quality man. So our numbers are kind of functioning at a good rate right now, even though I'm down a coach that we need to replace. And we might replace it internally. We'll just see how it plays out.
Well, that's where I wanted to go, Coach, is I know that Matt, like Jim Knowles, is a 4-2-5 guy. Is that the kind of defensive scheme that you're still looking to run?
Yeah, except our personnel, based on our D-line numbers, the way it's been recruiting, fits a little bit of the three-man style. We're going to probably stay, because I do think the strength of the team is our secondary. We brought in a couple transfer portal guys to help us at corner. We're really pretty deep and really pretty talented at safety, I believe. So I think our back end can be pretty decent. I think we brought in a couple linebackers in a transfer portal kid from Southern Cal, Julian Simon, a transfer linebacker that was a Division II All-American, Colton Smith. So I like our back end. Our D-line is good players. It's not as much numbers to be as much true 4 down right now. So we're kind of jockeying with that a little bit. So, and that'll be determined no matter who we hire, it'll be determined a little bit by play as we get in the spring ball and see how we hold up front with the 3 and the 4 down and see what we got for sure.
On the other side of the ball, Coach, you mentioned Steve Spurrier Jr. coming on as your offensive coordinator. Do you know whether or not you or he are going to keep the play calling privileges?
We'll go through spring and even in games, maybe I always kind of did a little bit together anyway. I don't think I'd totally get out of it, but it's when you have too many people talking, we'll get a feel as we go through spring. Right now, I'm trying to take a lot of time. Like I didn't come in and say, hey, here's exactly what we're doing at Ohio State. We're doing this. Hey, I did exactly like this at Oklahoma. We're doing it this way. Steve didn't come and say, hey, here's exactly what Coach Leach did. We're working together with Greg Fry and Adrian Mays and young Ryan Switzer. It's a dynamic young coach. You mentioned Ryan Stanchek. We got 6 of us in a room, and we're trying to figure out our way of doing it, how we want to call it, how we want to implement it. And right now, we're going slow. I'm not trying to throw a play. I'm more worried about the culture and how we play and the expectations, how we play more than what the plays are. So it's a slow build, and the play calling come. We're just building the offense now from how we want to call it, how we want to communicate it, and that'll be determined too as we get in practice and really see what can we block and what are our playmakers really like.
Well, Coach, you mentioned how much experience you have and how excited you are about the staff, but I got to point out, Coach, Ryan Switzer comes off the street mostly for a position coaching job at an FBS program. What about that man has convinced you he's the guy to be your wide receiver coach?
Well, I saw in a different world, but I saw, Brian Hartline do that. And Brian was the one that said, hey, I've talked to this guy a lot. And he wants to get, I think his skills are pretty good. When you talk to him, he was very gifted as an athlete, much like Coach Hartline was. He was a much more gifted athlete than some guys wanted to give him credit for. It's whether you played 5 or years in the NFL like Ryan did, or 8 like Brian did. You play for a while because you got talent. But those guys also played for a while because of their knowledge of the game. And I think they bring some immediate their knowledge of the passing game and route running and releases. And when you're playing in the NFL, Ryan has talked specifically several times to me about how much he sacrificed and the way he lived and the way he trained to give himself a chance to make it as a player. So part of that was studying and knowing the game. So his knowledge for a guy that hasn't played the receiver position really high. And he's been, matter of fact, I'll ask him specifically, okay, when you were Ben, what did you call this and how did you run this? We ran this thing this way and we ran it so many steps and we did this. What did you do and how did you do that? And first of all, we think a little bit alike as far as how we do some things, which I kind of like, but his knowledge of route running, coverages, attacking coverages, he's a great young hire. He'll be a dynamic recruiter. I mean, he's a young coach. It's going to be awesome, RJ.
Well, there's no getting around what kind of a player he was in North Carolina, that's for sure. He set records as a true freshman out there, and to see the progression, I'm excited to see what he can do. But again, it's a guy that you're going to have to grow up, and not unlike a Coach Hartline, who is now taking the job that you had just vacated at Ohio State's passing game coordinator, offense coordinator, and really done a great job in recruiting at Ohio State. I hope to see the same thing out of Coach Switz. But I also understand you got a guy back, and quarterback I'm really excited about. Now, not for nothing here, but we're talking about a 37-30 win for Braylon Braxton and the Tulsa Golden Hurricane against the Houston team that's going to be playing Big 12 football this year. I understand you haven't really seen him in a live experience, but you've seen enough film, I would assume. I'm assuming too much there, Coach?
Yeah, I've not overdone the film of the past. I mean, I've seen him do enough, though. I like him. We're limited right now with, the balls and throwing at what you can do. And we've watched enough tape, though, to say, what were you doing here? What are you thinking here? What was your thought? Just curious to just understand how he processed the game. What was he saying? I mean, it's just interesting to talk with him and say, tell what you're doing here. What's your footwork? What's your read? What's your thoughts? Why did you do this? Not being critical, just trying to, because sometimes you get kids to start articulating, you can really see how much they know versus are they just, ad-libbing and running around. So I've been impressed. He's a great team leader. Got the most. We did a leadership deal, put some players in charge of units. He was the hands down vote leader of our team. I think is a 3rd-year sophomore. And so he's well respected by his peers, but he's a talented guy, RJ, and we're looking forward to it. Hey, going back to Coach Switzer, I'm a Carolina alum, so I appreciate a good Tar Heel. Steve's a Duke guy, so I needed another Tar Heel to kind of even the thing out here, you know what I'm saying? And he is actually related to Coach Switzer, Barry Switzer. So a Switzer in Oklahoma is not a bad combo, so I thought that was a pretty good thing there.
Well, hey, I was just look, you brought it up and I'm glad we get to go there. He understands that name means something different over here in Oklahoma. Apparently he very much does. That's all right, Coach. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Thank you for watching the #1 college football show. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and like this video so that you don't miss any of the best college football coverage in America.